This year's G8 summit takes place at Evian, France, a picturesque resort on the bank of Lake Geneva. Here, President George W. Bush will come face-to-face with leaders from France, Germany, and Russia who openly opposed the U.S.-led war in Iraq and sharply criticized it. Relations improved somewhat when the foreign ministers met in late May and the French agreed to back the new United Nations Security Council resolution on post-war Iraq. Unlike last year's summit in Canada, tensions are high, and a lot will be read into handshakes, especially when President Bush meets French President Jacques Chirac and German Chancellor Gerhard Schröder. The German-American relationship deteriorated last year when the German Chancellor used an anti-American platform in his re-election campaign. German-American relations will remain tense, according to John Hulsman from the Heritage Foundation.
And I think that it's a sign of how bad things are in the U.S.-German relationship that the headline story from here is they actually shook hands. You know, if this is the headline story, I think you have an idea of how bad the personal chemistry is.
Still, the G8 leaders, with their overlapping interests and overlapping memberships in other organizations, need each other. The Europeans contribute large amounts of aid to the Palestinian Authority and can help with the Middle East peace process. And there are trade issues. Troubled world trade talks missed another deadline May 28th, with no deal reached on how to cut tariffs on industrial goods. The International Monetary Fund warns that UN poverty reduction targets cannot be met without an opening of agricultural markets and ending government subsidies for agricultural goods. One area on which the G8 leaders are likely to agree is more aid to African nations to combat HIV/AIDS.
The United States of America has the power, and we have the moral duty to help.
President Bush has just signed a $15 billion AIDS initiative for Africa and the Caribbean. He is urging the Group of Eight to do the same.
And I will challenge our partners and our friends to follow our lead and to make a similar commitment made by the United States of America so we can save even more lives.
The relationships among the G8 countries are becoming more like that of the Democrats and the Republicans in the U.S. Congress, according to John Hulsman.
I think the entire transatlantic relationship is changing. What we consider an ally is changing with the end of the Cold War on September 11th now. That, you know, nobody's going to work with us all the time, but that doesn't mean they're our enemy. We're going to work with people as people work on the Hill. On one issue, we work together. On another issue, we don't. Nobody's feelings get hurt, and we move along and try to get through an agenda.
Another thing that marks this summit is the presence of China's President Hu Jintao. China, where the Communist Party rules, may seem an odd fit in a body created by the large established free market democracies. But China is a rising global power. Are we going to see the G8 become the G9? Again, John Hulsman.
I mean, China, you know, is on the scene, and this is really very interesting that the Chinese have signed on to the WTO. They're now members of, in fact, of the international economic community. They're having a hard time, as all members do, including the United States, of living up to the terms of the WTO. But the Chinese really push to be involved in this because they see themselves rightly as a significant economic player coming of age. And in a way, this is their debutante ball. This is their coming out at the G8 meeting, and it may indeed become a G9, and so I wish the Chinese great luck.
France has also invited other non-G8 leaders to the summit's opening day. The French say they hope this will satisfy anti-globalization protesters who claim the group is a club for the rich. Carol Pearson, VOA TV.